What is going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? The ACMJ's Gamer here. Today we're here to talk about Star Wars Outlaws. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's a new scoundrel-based game. It's coming out from Ubisoft Massive next year, 2024. There is a gameplay trailer and a gameplay demo that I will leave a link down in the description down below. But with that being said, if you do know what I'm talking about, we have some news. Star Wars Outlaws dev explains why it's between Empire and Jedi. Basically, we see Han Solo encased in carbonite being handed over to Jabba the Hutt, which gave us some indication that this game will take place in between 5 and 6. And so the dev decided to explain why specifically that time period. Creative director Julian Garrity explained that while this time period was chosen in part because his colleagues are all huge fans of the original trilogy, there's a very specific reason relating to its scoundrel-led story. The time between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi is a lull for the rebellion, meaning not just the Empire is running rampant, but the Outer Rim's festering crime organizations are too. He says, when we started off the discussions with Lucasfilm, it was very clear that the one period between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, that's where the rebels aren't part of the picture, Garrity said. The Empire's taking more and more control, but the Syndicates, they're taking more power. They're exploiting all of these weaknesses, so it really is a moment where the underworld is thriving and there's no better situation for an established or a rookie scoundrel to cut their teeth than this particular moment. So, we have the motivation, the team, they love the OT, the original trilogy, and it just makes sense to them that within the original trilogy, this is the time period they decided to go with. Very interesting. We have another article that goes over the freedom of player choice and interplanetary travel. Julian Garrity, he said, or is who they're talking about, said he gave us the idea of how big the world of Star Wars Outlaws will be. According to Garrity, quote, "It is a crude analogy, but the size of one planet might be about or equivalent to 2 of the zones in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example. It could be 2 to 3 zones, but it's not, this sort of epic about the whole of England recreated approach. We don't yet have the specific number of planets that the game will include, but Garrity also added that each was handcrafted. The planets are of a manageable size, and they have not procedurally generated entire planets. Garrity added, we're really focusing on what, quote, open world, end quote, means to the player, which is full freedom of approach. Which is very interesting because they say manageable size. So I'm wondering if they're somewhat taking a dig at Starfield there, saying, well, Starfield, they have to procedurally generate it because it's not a manageable size. But with that, it's handcrafted content. If it's 2 to 3 zones as big as Odyssey, I'm sure that's fine, as long as there isn't just a whole bunch of bloat. And if you don't know what that is, just basically a bunch of stuff to do that kind of distracts you from the main story. And I'm fine with having open world side content, but like, for example, with Odyssey, where it's the same thing, where it's like, here's a fort, do these side objectives, and you just do that over and over and over again. I don't want that. If there's enough of a variety of things to do, like, for example, in Ghost of Tsushima, I'm fine with that, while also looking at a beautiful world. But moving on. As for the means of traveling between planets, the game will include speeders and spaceships. While players will reportedly be able to explore the near orbit of each planet or moon, there are limitations to this as well. Garrity explains, quote, flying freely above the planet was something we chose not to do because it was going to take us a huge amount of effort for very little payoff. Players will be dropped off at specific nearby points from which they will have to calculate and strategize their ways in. We saw a demo of this at the Ubisoft showcase, where the lead character Vess was seen choosing whether to bribe the Imperial officer or not. This is also where the different factions come in, as you can be in a good or bad books of each depending on the choices you make in the game. This will affect your gameplay as you'll get to unlock exclusive quests, gain access to locked areas, and more, Garrity explained. So, I think that's very interesting. It leads to potentially, maybe, New Game Plus, or if not that, at least another playthrough where you can go through and make different choices than what you did the first time, whether you decide to bribe the officer or whether or not you go in stealthy or not. Very interesting. This is the rest of the quote. He said, "If you're in their good books, you'll unlock exclusive quests, special prizes at their vendors, access to locked off areas. But if you're in their bad books, they're going to send people to chase you down, and there will be consequences in terms of credits or some sort of monetary punishment there." He also elaborated on the different styles that can be seen influencing the game, especially a vintage approach reminiscent of the 1970s. He said, quote, "So you have the vignetting, film grain, lens breathing, the curvature of a thicker lens, the slight lens flares, all of these things that are very subtle but come together to give you a more cinematic experience." And so with that, we have one more article to go, very short, which is titled, "What Open World Means to the Player." And it's just this little tidbit here. This is in the demo. He says, "A gun battle breaks out during the mission of our demo sequence with iconic Star Wars blaster effects pinging all around, but we are assured that it would also have been perfectly valid to stay in stealth mode all the way to where lead character Kay Vess's speeder bike is located, never getting into a fight before making an escape. Quote, we've really focused on what the, quote, open world, end quote, means to the player," Garrity says, which is full of freedom of approach. So it's very interesting that they say that even in the demo, they say you could have gone full stealth mode, which to me reminds me of other stealth games like Dishonored or Metal Gear, where, to me personally, for Dishonored, I did the complete opposite. I did a full playthrough where I would play the game, record for one channel, where, for example, as Emily, I would kill everyone, and then on my own time, as Corvo, I would spare everyone. Very interesting little thing there. So, the fact that we can decide to go stealthy or not, very interesting. I've always wondered what being stealthy, quote-unquote, in a Star Wars game would be. I, was wondering or hoping that maybe you could have a stealth system in the Fallen Order games. But, I mean, you got a lightsaber. Why would you want to be stealthy in that? But that's it. That's the 3 articles. I will link those 3 articles in full down in the description down below, as well as the gameplay demo and the gameplay trailer. Once again, this game is coming out 2024, but we still have quite a year of gaming ahead of us. For me personally, in September, we have Starfield coming out in just a couple of months, and shortly after that will be AC Mirage, along with Payday 3 and The Plucky Squire, which we're looking forward to. So the end of the year does not look as bleak as it sounds. We just have to, unfortunately, wait until those games come out. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully there will be another update video on Mirage or Starfield, or maybe even more on this. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.